Live stream on the Bull Burger Podcast. All right, we're officially live. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to yet another Bull Burger Podcast. My name is Evan, and this is
I'm Josh Bolgatz.
Josh Bolgatz. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are doing this from our own studios. Isn't that pretty cool?
Got mine set up here, his set up there. We're ready to go.
Yeah. You got a mic now, right? And you also got a new webcam as well, which we're testing out as we speak.
It took us a little while to figure out how to
Can you get a little bit closer to the mic, bro? A little bit.
All right.
A little bit. Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
But yeah, what were you saying?
So let's just jump straight into it. I mean, today we're going to be talking about mainly DOGE getting sued and them having to halt their, I guess, progress in going through each individual government agency and why that's happening and where we're going to go from here, I guess. I mean, a lot of it's currently speculation right now as to what they're going to do. And, you know, right now the lawsuit has a restraining order against DOGE, preventing them from accessing the Treasury systems. So we should see, right?
Yeah, I mean, they have stopped effectively everything. And so apparently one of the things that, or not apparently, one of the things that Elon Musk has done with Doge is kind of set up a private server inside of the Secretary or the United States Treasury Department, right? And one of the orders from this entire lawsuit here is for them to delete everything on that private server and to stop them from messing with the U.S. Treasury. Pretty much. So here's a little bit of information just to kind of get everybody on the same page. The plaintiffs of this lawsuit is 19 U.S. states. So that's including New York, Arizona, California, Colorado. Actually, let me switch over here so everybody can see. Yes, and also full transparency, we are using the ChatGPT
Premium
for this.
ChatGPT, yeah.
To give us summaries here, because folks, if we, the amount of information for us to read and to decipher, unfortunately, is above our IQs.
It's a little above our pay grade, but hey, ChatGPT definitely here to help us understand some legal documents a little bit better.
Yes.
You know, when we sourced this out of ChatGPT, we actually pulled up the case file of, you know, state of New York versus DOGE.
Yes. So let's go pull that up. So
here, Donald Trump, actually.
Here's the official document. This is from the state of New York itself. And as you can see, it is a long one. It would take us more time than we have, and it's full of legalese or legal speak, which both of us aren't experts in. So we're using kind of ChatGPT as a lifeline here so that we can kind of get into kind of our thoughts on it and everything. So let's go ahead and go back up to here and continue to read this summary. So New York, Arizona, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Hawaii, Illinois, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Nevada, New Jersey, North Carolina, Oregon, Rhode Island, Vermont, and Wisconsin. You know what I'm noticing here? We got only one swing state. There is a swing state in this. I guess North Carolina could be considered it could technically be considered a swing state too.
It was a swing state in this election.
Yeah, it was. They argue that their states and by extension their residents are at risk because critical federal payments and the privacy of millions are jeopardized. Defendants, the lawsuit names President Donald J. Trump in his official capacity, the U.S. Department of Treasury, and the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Jurisdiction, I don't really need to read that. Let's see here. Treasury payment systems and the BFS role. The U.S. Treasury Bureau of Fiscal Services manages a central payment system that receives coded payment files from multiple federal agencies. These files direct the disbursement of trillions of dollars each year to millions of Americans in benefits such as Social Security, veterans benefits, tax refunds, and federal grant payments. Importantly, these files contain sensitive, personally identifiable information, including social security numbers, bank account data, and confidential financial details. So, bank account data, that is actually American. Like your bank account data, my bank account data, our social security numbers, everybody that's watching this video's social security numbers are all now in this.
I It's not that far. It's the people that are in that system. I believe that most of these
Well,
are
if you
going
have a
to
social
be
security number.
people on receiving benefits. And you know, uh, when you
Federal
say it
grant
like that,
payments,
it's kind of
tax
inflammatory
refunds.
because, well, they do have access to that. What are they using it for? They're trying to figure out where money's going, and if there's, you know, what Doge is doing is trying to cut spending out of our government, unnecessary bloated spending. They're trying to trim down the fat of the bureaucracy, which does need to happen. And I think the main thing, that I get from this, instead of just we can continue to break this down, and we absolutely will, but my main takeaway from this is that we have to do something about our massive bloated federal government that just continuously deficit spends like it's the next hot thing. You know, every year, year over year, our deficit spending increases. And not to mention that our compounding interest on that debt's also increasing year over year. And we're at a breaking point where the compounding interest alone is almost $1 trillion a year, on our debt. So we have to do something. It's not a matter of let's wait and let the deficit fix itself. I do understand us needing to do it more systematically and go about it. And I think that most Americans would agree that being $36 trillion in debt is not the way that our country should operate. I think we've kind of been conditioned that it's okay to just continue to go deeper and deeper and deeper into debt because if we don't, the world's going to fall apart. It's basically what I've been told. Oh, if we stop overspending, then veterans won't get benefits. Oh, if we don't keep overspending in government, then the homeless population's going to get even worse. Not like we don't already have problems. It's always this appeal to emotion. If we don't keep spending this money, then people are going to suffer. But the problem is we don't have this money to spend. And instead of us looking for beneficial and better ways to go about it, it's just been the thought of we'll just spend money on it. We'll just keep going into further and further debt. We'll give money to people, other countries, for whatever reason that we see as fit. We're just quick to reach into our pocketbooks and we don't have the money to give, but we make it. And so, well, I understand why they're trying to pause this and why they want it to be vetted and that that there should be care taken into who is axing the government budget. It has to happen, in my view. So, where you could look at this as, you know, a billionaire trying to take power over the US could be. Elon, he could just be trying to take ultimate control over these agencies, or he's actually trying to go in there and axe budgets and trying to figure out why we're so broke as a country.
Yeah, I mean, I think having the conversation, right, about where we're spending our money, all of that in a transparent way, I think that is, I think it's a good thing to have. I think it's a good conversation to have, and it's a good thing to consider when spending. One of the things I kind of saw a clip of not too long ago was I think there was some sort of congressional hearing where a guy brought a bag of bearings, right, that is sold. I think it was to the Air Force, a bag of bearings that he purchased for $100 that are, quality bearings, good enough for airplanes, and the same quality of the bearings that the United States military uses. And they found out that there's for each bag of those bearings, the Air Force is spending $90,000 on it
Oh God!
when they can produce them for $100 per bag. And so
So what is that?
spending
A
like
nine
that,
thousand percent markup?
yeah, it's a 9,000% markup because of our tax dollars are involved. And it doesn't, there's definitely some arguments to be made in areas like that where you can easily identify, what is being spent, where it's being spent, and how much money is being spent. I think that is a good conversation to have, but you do have to go through a certain process to do this kind of stuff.
Do you think our government just negotiates in reverse? Like, when they're talking about these airplane parts, say like Boeing, for instance, is like, oh yeah, that bearing will be $5,000 in the United States is like $7,000, and then Boeing is like, we said 5,000, but okay, and then the
I
U.S. is
guess
like
we
$10,000, final offer.
I guess we could do $90,000 per bag. Um,
Yeah, I swear, like, when you hear stuff like that,
it kind
that's
of
where my
sounds like
mind
health
immediately goes.
insurance.
It's just shut up and take my money.
Right. No, it kind of sounds like health insurance a little bit, where you're paying like $10 for one little bit of Advil. It's like this incredible markup on this kind of stuff is, it's a wasteful spending of our tax dollars. Why can't we get that bag of bearings for $100? Why does it got to
I
be $90,000? And so I do think having that conversation is good, but I don't think the way that DOGE is doing it is legal. And so I think I can agree with you that if we do have that kind of spending issue in other, sectors of our government, it definitely needs to be looked at, assessed. Is it necessary? Why is it happening? And then eliminating it if it is excessive spending, kind of like what those bearings represent. And I think it would be good here to kind of, clear up, um, whether or not DOGE can even legally, you know, mess with this stuff. So this is a summary here from ChatGPT.
go
As you can
back up
see,
if you don't mind to the
this is
clearance on the chat. Oh,
summaries of the SSA.gov, which is an archive here for the Federal Register here, and policies and practices for storing, retrieving, accessing, retaining, and deposing of records of the system. And it also got some resources here from the U.S. Department of Treasury and how they do things in terms of privacy, transparency, and records. And so we are talking about the Department of Treasury here. So this is all applicable here. And here's a summary. Um, Let's see here. So, Elon Musk's DOGE team isn't legally permitted to access those documents because doing so would violate several federal laws and international security policies. In essence, these records, such as Social Security and banking data contained in the Treasury payment systems, are subject to stringent legal protections under the Policy Act of 1974, FISMA, the Federal Information Security Modernization Act, and the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, among other statutes. Key points include, privacy protections. The Privacy Act strictly limits who can view personal data. Only personnel whose duties require access and who have undergone rigorous background checks and in many cases hold proper security clearance can legally access these records. Granting DOGE such access would likely constitute an unauthorized disclosure of sensitive personal information.
see, I wanna stop on that and take a point to discuss that
Yeah.
because I think part of that is true, but also part of that is not. Because if you look at what DOGE's purpose is for, they need to access those records to do the job that that department was literally set up for. And as we looked up earlier, we actually found out that when you look at the executive order that actually created DOGE, it didn't just create DOGE out of nowhere. It created it utilizing it actually changed a previous cabinet into DOGE. And then he also hired on Elon as a special part-time government employee.
Yes.
So
But
there
the thing
was
is, I think hold on, trying to find this one thing here about the
yeah, this
president's.
is the problem with not having a Jamie is we have to do the research
We have to do it
or try to.
ourselves. But this is, honestly, ChatGPT is probably like 40 times smarter than Jamie. So this is like a Jamie on steroids.
Oh, whoa. It's
Because all Jamie does is just kind of look up stuff
I
and then
mean,
just
yeah.
reads it
I mean,
verbatim. Doesn't check the sources. Doesn't really try to make sure it comes from government websites,
I
and
mean,
then
what
just
is
gives
that?
his personal opinion on it.
SSA.gov and
Yeah,
HomeTreasury.gov.
I mean that's about as official as you can get. Let's see here. Where is
I
that
don't know.
one thing that we were looking at here?
It depends
That the
on how much you
president
trust
does
the
not
government.
have authority to even create um, or to allow people. Where is it?
Well, the other
Oh,
thing
there it
too
is. Okay,
is like with the proper
this
vetting,
is interesting.
you can
Even the
establish
president does not
a
have
temporary.
carte blanche authority to grant access to such sensitive financial information. This means that any move to allow DOGE to access would be unprecedented and legally questionable. So he doesn't have the authority to
Well, they're saying
allow
it's
DOGE to
unprecedented,
make
which means that there's
cuts.
no precedent set for it
No, there's
yet. So
precedent
this
set.
is the
No,
precedent.
the precedent is the Congress passes spending, right? And the Department of Treasury spends that money pretty much. The Congress has to approve. Now, the president does have authority to veto a bill that comes through Congress, but he can't change individual items within the bill and how it's spent. He either vetoes it or allows it to pass. But the power of the purse is in Congress. They're the one that makes these laws, and the president has no authority under our Constitution to change those things or make a government agency of DOGE to do that for him. Because again, all changes in terms of spending has to go through Congress first, and so essentially, this is like what the New York prosecutors are saying here, along with other states, is that they do not have the legal authority to one usurp Congress and two be able to change any of the spending that Congress has already approved. And so, although I think we can both fundamentally agree here that we definitely need to have a conversation about where the government is spending its money, right? And if there's anything that we can do to slim that down in ways that don't affect people's lives, is a conversation to have. But that's a conversation that needs to be had in Congress, not by the president, and definitely not by DOGE.
Well, it is a conversation that's been being had for years, and our deficit has just continued to compile and to grow. I mean, it's
Oh,
not solving
uh,
itself.
we got
We've
somebody in chat.
we've had congressional oversight committees look into government spending and come out, uh, you know, going through a minefield and basically getting pulling teeth to get little to no information. So this has to happen in my eyes. Like it it's going to
It
get pushed
has to
back.
go through Congress.
It's going to be terrible, but when you look at the fact that the Pentagon hasn't passed an audit
Yeah,
in
that's
how
bad.
many years?
Yeah, no, I agree.
Almost $1 trillion
Trillions of dollars
unaccounted for in military
unaccounted for.
spending.
Yeah, that's bad.
Like it's bad.
Yeah,
Like that has to get fixed,
and
and
I
it's
agree.
gonna get pushed back. So, right now they're saying that Trump doesn't have the ability to do this, but there has to be a committee to do this. Whether or not DOGE can actually shut down the spending, what they should be able to do is at least figure out where this money's going, and yeah, properly vet these people. Don't just put some random guy that you think's going to be able to do the job. Properly vet him, make sure he can actually do what you need to do, and that he's not, if he's going to be viewing sensitive data that could hurt the country, that he goes through the proper background or clearance check that he needs before he's accessing these files. It might take a little bit of extra time, but I'm okay with something like
But that's
that,
the thing:
instead of a
unauthorized
rush job.
access. Right? They don't have access. DOGE can't access those files because of laws that were made for the Department of Treasury. So let's see if we can get more information on that. All right, yeah, let's continue to read this. Security and clearance requirements. Federal systems and that process payments and personal financial data are heavily safeguarded. Employees granted access must be vetted, properly trained, and hold the necessary clearances. Since DOGE's personnel are not traditional government employees and may not have been subjected to the full scrutiny clearance process or the same level of scrutiny as career Treasury staff, allowing them to access would breach establishment protocols and statutory safeguards. So, statutory constraints here. Legal experts have noted that a broad access by DOGE could contravene multiple statutes. For example, under the International Revenue Code, Section 103, and other privacy laws, even the president does not. Okay, we already read that. But so the Treasury, if you're in the Treasury Department and you want access to these documents, including people's bank records that are in in relation to Medicaid and also even veterans get paid out from the Treasury Department and also other programs as well, like Social Security. In order to get access to that information, you have got to be an employee of the Department of Treasury, and you have to have, training and also other, training. Also, what was it? Training. Um,
See,
and certain clearances as well in order to access that. You can't just be some random from a different
okay,
department and get it. And that's what
but
they're
how?
trying to
So
do.
you're going to expect that that
So on top
department's
of the
going to
fact,
be proper in auditing itself, that it doesn't have uh, any outside oversight. So it's just going to oversee itself perfectly. There's not going to be any discrepancies. There's not going to be any. So in my view, there's two ways to look about this. One, yes, I think that the people that are looking into these records should be properly vetted and should be gone about the proper way. However, if you're going to have an audit done, it should be done by an outside entity. It should not be done. You should not ask people to audit themselves. People will hide things, cover things up. You're not going to get a true vision of what you need to see. So they're
and
basically arguing to not be audited in my eyes. They're basically arguing saying no one should be able to look at these documents, especially not Elon Musk and Doge. And they're not giving any other they're not basically saying we're willing to work with them and to figure out how to do this properly. I haven't heard a single thing talking about working with them to do this the right way. All I've heard is that we won't do this. We're going to sue them to stop them from doing this. This shouldn't happen when this has to happen. We
well, that's
just
the
sat
thing.
there and
That's the
talked
thing.
about
They
deficit
they
spending. Someone has to audit the
it's not
this
just
is the Treasury.
it's not just the Treasury that's not having that conversation. It's not just the New York federal judge that is not having this conversation. It's also not Doge or President Trump that's willing to have this conversation on how to do it properly. Because guess what? It's actually none of them that are in charge of that. If Congress wanted to pass a bill, so this I think in my head is the best way to do this. That still is in the legal parameters of the Constitution and also the laws that we already have on the books. Is Elon and and Donald Trump, right? They need to go to Congress and convince them that this is something that needs to be done, right? Congress can give them the power of the law, the power of the purse. They're not given the power of the purse, but Congress controls that, and they can make a law that makes Doge one official, right? Because again, the president cannot make a government department that controls spending in any way, and neither can the president himself control spending anyway after it's already been passed. So they would need a whole separate law to get put in place in order for this conversation to even begin and to give the proper people the clearance and training and all of that stuff to be able to look through this data, and also Elon is not a expert in this field. All right. We shouldn't have Elon being the person looking through all these records because he doesn't clearly, in my opinion, doesn't really understand what each thing's worth. There
Well,
was this huge freaking debacle
Elon's the
where
face of
Elon,
it,
please
but
don't cut me off. There was this huge debacle where Elon was talking about how, oh, looks like all these government agencies are sending money to Politico in order for Politico to be their talking piece, to be their political attack dog, right? But that was wrong. It was just basic pro subscriptions that people were getting, including the people that were crapping on people like Laura Loomer that came out and was starting to crap on people. She actually has a pro subscription too that actually is in relation to that dollar amount. They're obviously not qualified to even just go through the data and be able to report it accurately. So we need somebody that actually understands the system, preferably somebody from the Treasury Secretary with oversight from Congress, like it's supposed to be. And then, in that way, Congress can look at the data, they can get it explained, the public can get it explained to them with someone with actual knowledge and expertise in the area, and then we can finally get an understanding of what's really happening and what needs to be changed. But you can't even have that conversation in the first place if you don't have access to the data. Right. And you can't get access to that data using an iron fist. You've got to go through Congress because this is America and we have balance of power.
You know, that was quite the rant, man.
Yeah.
Do I think that it would be better to go through Congress and to pass bills that would actually aim at fixing this long term? Absolutely. Do I think that Doge is doing something that needs to be done? Also, absolutely. Do I feel that when they're getting close to a lot of things that might not necessarily, a lot of people might not want to come to light, that they're going to get a lot of pushback? All 19 of those lawsuits were filed by Democratic DAs. Not a single conservative DA is suing Trump. Um, so it's also a highly politicized issue right now. Um, there's the legality terms of it, which I do agree with you on. Um,
So you do agree that they're doing it in the wrong way right now. They should go through proper channels of Congress.
don't I don't necessarily disagree, but I don't necessarily think that the right way would work. Does that make sense? I think that if they do it the way that you're talking about, it will just never happen. It'll get dragged through endless, endless legal battles.
So in
When
you,
has Congress ever been efficient or effective at doing anything? Um, you know,
no, I agree. Our Congress kind of sucks when it comes to doing anything, especially for the people. Yeah, I remember there's an article. I think it was done from like the Rand Corporation or something, where they looked at how Congress votes in relation to who wants that thing voted on. And I think it's like 70% of time when, some of our largest businesses want something passed, it gets passed. And about 10% of the time when, you have like 80% support for something from the public, it never even makes it into Congress. And so obviously there's a representation problem. And, we could get into a conversation about that if you want. Where that stems from is from corruption and businesses, lobbyists spending lots of money, millions of dollars to influence what Congress thinks, and it's not illegal to do that. And I think that's a big problem. And I think we can agree on that, right? And that problem could start to manifest into some of our other departments as well. And I do think we can come to an agreement that conversation needs to be had. But we have checks and balances for a reason, right? The reason why the president can't just manipulate everything that's in a bill, because then that makes Congress pointless. Then we don't need Congress, and then so you eliminate the Congress. I guess, is that the legislative branch? I forget which branch of government that is. Is it even a branch? Not sure, but I know Congress does have the power of the purse. I'm 100% sure on that, and that's what they control. And they also control what laws get passed, and the president can either veto or not. Period. Right?
yeah,
And
but Congress also has the ability to veto executive orders, and Congress did not veto the creation of Doge. So Doge is an official government entity. That's the other thing. I keep seeing that get argued in a lot of articles when it's clearly been made an official government entity. It was, as I said, it was not created. They changed an already existing cabinet
cabinet, yeah,
over to Doge. So
right.
it is a cabinet. And
It
and
is a cabinet position,
it
yes.
is very important to make that distinction, because a lot of things that I read were trying to say that it was not. And then when you actually read the fine print, you find out that yes, Doge was not created out of thin air. It was made, I believe it was like Digital Incorporated or Department of Digital Services was changed into Doge. Um, so it's, like I said, it was not just created. Doge is a legitimate department of the US government, and it does have a job to do, which when you go back to the Treasury's definition of the people that are requesting these documents, they do fit half the criteria, at least that we know of so far, because we don't know what level of vetting that they have gone through. That's one thing that has not been made clear to the public, you know. But we do know that they do have, their job requires them to have access to these documents and this information, or
But
at
they
least the
can't
job that
have
they set
access
out
to it
that
according
they
to
were
the
going to
United
do.
States law. So they made a department that's supposed to have certain access to certain documents in order to do its job when they don't have access, which is the whole problem.
Right, but at the same time, like I said earlier, how can you ask that department to audit itself? I mean, of course, if you're gonna audit yourself, I'm gonna be like,
Well, they're
if I
making a
did
pretty
some
big
shady
case.
shit, that I can hide that. I can sweep that right under the rug like it never happened. If I'm gonna audit myself, okay, I'd love to audit myself. I don't want someone else to come in and audit me because they're gonna actually try to find the shit I was gonna sweep under the rug, and I might not have that opportunity to hide it. So it's like, when we're talking about the budget of the US, we're talking about the treasury. These people, like you said, whether it's, and he's made it very clear that he told Doge that they are not going to come after Social Security, they're not going to come after Medicaid, and they're not going to come after veterans benefits. But he said everything else is fair game in the Department of the Treasury, and that's from his words. So whether or not that was a lie,
It is a
if he was
yeah.
just blatantly lying when he said that, that could be a possibility. I'd like to hope that's not the case. Trump's not necessarily known to be the most truthful of presidents. So there you go. I
Yeah, I
mean,
mean, to me, it's just it's a violation of what this country stands for. Our balance of power is the reason why we haven't had a king, right? Because the president doesn't have ultimate power to do whatever the heck he wants to, and neither does Doge. You have to go through certain processes, which protects us, by the
yeah, but our
way,
certain
because
processes have gotten us
let
$36 trillion into debt.
sure, and we can have a conversation on how we can fix that. I mean, you got Donald Trump, right, as president, a Republican. You have the Senate controlled by Republicans. You have the House controlled by Republicans. So if this is a thing that all Republicans agree on, it's super easy to go through just what regular channels here that we usually go through. They don't have to usurp Congress. Obviously, we can
They're
make a difference.
not necessary because Congress could stop them too. This isn't a lawsuit from Congress. Congress is
But they have the
fine with
power of the
Doge doing
purse.
what they're doing. This
When
is a
they pass the
lawsuit.
law, that spending has to get spent when they pass a law. So all of that money that's going to everywhere, that is, all that money that's coming out of the Department of Treasury is being spent the way that the bill said it should be spent. You cannot
Right,
come
but
in as Doge and change that spending because the Doge does not have the power of the purse. The president doesn't even have power of purse. The only way that he can affect the power of purse is by vetoing the bill, which he was not in office when some of these bills were passed. Most of them were passed, and the spending, like for Social Security and all of that, has to be spent, and you can't
look,
stop it from happening.
all I my okay. While I do understand that you're not supposed to stop them from
No,
spending
you
that money,
can't
if you
stop
find
them
out
from
that they
spending that
are
money.
wasting that money, right? One of the things, when I used to be in the Navy that we always used to do at the end of every year, if we had any money left over, any money at all, which we almost always did in our budget, we were encouraged to go out. We would get new gear that we didn't necessarily need, but we might have wanted new flashlights. We would get backpacks, whatever we could buy on the government's dime, you know, to make sure that our budget
I want to
it
make
was
sure that
not,
you're
we
allowed
did
to
not
talk
spend
about
less.
this.
Because if we did not spend all of that money, we wouldn't get the same budget next year. So
Yeah,
if
talk
you
about
look at it,
talk about where you were and why you had this authority.
it's it's the same way across almost all government agencies when it comes to budgets and how budgets are assigned and how they're managed. If you don't use your budget, you don't get the same budget the next year. If you use all your budget, you get the same budget, maybe a larger budget to account for inflation. But if you don't use all your budget, you lose it. It's use it or lose it. That's how government budget works. So when you look at that and you take that thinking and you put it across all government agencies, what you're going to get is an incredible amount of bloat and a lot of wasteful spending, especially towards the end of the year, as these agencies try to continuously keep their budgets up while not taking into account that, they've already inflated it so much from doing this for so many years that they might really not need that, and we just have such a, it goes back to the point. I wish the government could spend its taxes and have to do it like we have to budget as citizens. Because if they did, we would not be anywhere near this mess. We would definitely not be $36 trillion in debt. I remember I was reading something a while ago, and if you were to take the US government and its spending and put it in terms of a family of like family of five, that we would basically be you would be borrowing almost $100,000 a year um in debt.
I just don't
Like,
understand why you want to fundamentally change how the government works in order to get this done. That's what I don't understand. It's like you do understand why that is a good thing that Congress has the power of the purse and the president doesn't have ultimate power. Because when the president has ultimate power to affect spending, right, he's almost a king. There's still other checks and balances, but if you're going to start eliminating all the checks and balances on the president just to get stuff done that you really feel like need to be done, Donald Trump can just change everything, change the laws, do anything he wants. And, heck, why not increase the term limits? Why not eliminate elections? Now, I'm not saying Donald Trump is going to do that.
now
And
you're
if
just
you,
going into
no, I am
speculatory
not. I am
territory.
not. Listen, I'm not saying Donald Trump is going to do that, but I'm saying another president with that much power could do that, right? Could they not? If they have the power of the
You
purse,
think it's going to set a
anything
dangerous
Congress,
precedent, huh?
the extremely dangerous precedent. We don't. We're the United States of America, right? We have checks and balances for a reason. That's what's made us so great. Is that we don't have a king. That's why I think what is it? The UK or Britain still has a king and queen. Whatever they say goes. That doesn't really work out too
Long live
great
the
for them,
king.
does it? Right? It's our
They have a
process.
prime minister too.
Well, I mean, it still doesn't work out that great, and
Actually,
with the king and queen, and kings and queens have never really worked that great in the past, and that's why we've moved away from that system to a democracy, and one of the staples of our democracy are those checks and balances and not allowing our presidents to become kings. Now, I'm not saying Donald Trump is going to abuse this power if he ever gets it, but the fact is he shouldn't be able to get this power because of our checks and balances and what's in place. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't have the conversation
well, the lawsuit's being
about
brought,
spending, but there's
Evan.
proper ways to go about it. And if any
Evan, the
president can
lawsuit
do
is
it,
being brought,
it would
right?
be Donald Trump because he has a supermajority. He's got Republicans in the Senate and in the House. So what's
Evan,
stopping him from doing it properly?
Evan. I think that's a good place to wrap up at least this, and end it with this. The lawsuit has been
Wrapping it
brought.
up. You're
19
still talking
states,
about it.
19 state. Well, at least to wrap up where we were on this, but 19 states have brought forth the lawsuit. It has to still go before the Supreme Court, or we even have to find out if it is going to go before the Supreme Court. They have a restraining order filed through New York right now. So we shall see. It is an ongoing thing. We'll probably know more at the end of by Monday. Um, we've gone into the legal aspects of it. We know that technically, yes, DOGE does not have legal authority to do what they're needing to do, at least through the Treasury. Now, can they be given access to that? That is what we're probably going to find out. That's what's going to be brought up in this lawsuit, and that's what's going to be probably judged. That'll be up to the judge who sees this. So, to begin speculating that Donald Trump's going to become a king because of DOGE, I feel like is
I
just
didn't say that.
unproductive.
I didn't say that. I said you keep whittling down these checks and balances. Then yes, when there's no more checks and balances left, if they can do this, right? If they can just get rid of one check and balance, the entirety of Congress.
How are you getting rid
What's
of checks
stopping
and
them from doing
balances, Evan?
something else?
Checks and balances
Because
is
you're trying to
literally
usurp the
hey,
power of the purse, right? You're trying to go over the power of the purse in the Senate, in the House, to do whatever you want with our departments, the laws have already been passed. They've already been signed into law. It's already not been vetoed by the previous presidents. These are money that has to get spent because Congress said so, and the president has no power to stop that. Now that it's already passed, that's a check and balance. That's why we have multiple people in Congress, so we can have multiple opinions from either Republicans and Democrats. They go back and forth. They pick the spending. Are they good at it? No, we can both agree on that. But if you start to override what Congress says, that's a check and balance gone, right? So if they can successfully override Congress, that's not a good thing. We still need those checks and balances, and that's all this lawsuit is about, is saying, hey, they're trying to get past the checks and balance, or they're trying to they're trying to go past Congress and not use Congress for something that Congress is specifically laid out in the Constitution to be able to do. And that's not a good thing. You can't just force your will as a president or as a government agency.
Actually, if you look at the responsibility of the executive branch, it is to enforce laws. So not in create laws, but to enforce it. So if he's create a oversight committee or oversight cabinet that's job is to go and enforce a budget, then I would say that is actually within the executive branch's power. The legislative branch or Congress, their responsibility is to create laws. So you're right, they would write a law that would include a budget, but
They had the power of the purse.
yes.
Yes.
And then
So when they pass that
just going
law and
basic
they spend
overview,
it,
executive branch enforces the laws, judicial branch interprets the laws, Congress writes the laws.
right. Oh, by the way, your door's open and audio is coming in from back there.
Sorry about that.
You're good. But yeah, so I guess give me a summary on like what do you think, I guess, they should do given this new information that we have learned today?
Look, I want to see the lawsuit. I want to see what they're, a big part of this is that they're saying that these guys haven't been cleared or vetted. I would like to see to what degree that is true. I want to see how much vetting actually went through. When Elon Musk said he was going to put together the team that he made as DOGE, he went with young and talented programmers. I don't think he necessarily went because they had the best and most PC or family friendly backgrounds. I think he went because that they were smart and that he needed them for a job and he was looking for that. Now, like I said, we'll know more in a couple days and we'll really get to come to grips with exactly what this is going to entail and if DOGE will be allowed to continue to go through our budget and to figure out where our money is going and how we're so far in debt and maybe actually put together a real plan to get us out of debt because all I keep hearing is reasons that they need to stop doing what they're doing. I see article after article, DOGE, it's illegal. They need to stop. They're just, they're going to destroy the country. I don't see anything saying, yeah, it's great. We need to take a look at this. Maybe DOGE isn't doing it the best way, but let's have a discussion about what's a better way we could do this instead of just saying they need to stop doing this, that this isn't right, that they're going to destroy our lives. They're not. Look, we're just talking about slashing our budget. There's a ton of wasteful spending. Someone has to find it. I've thought my entire life, why can't someone just go through the government and it's going to be like pulling teeth. I know it's going to suck, but someone's just got to go through and just start looking at budgets. And it's, when people don't want you to see their budget and they want to try to hide things, of course, there's going to be pushback. There's going to be lawsuits. There's going to be people going on news broadcasting and talking about how illegal. And it's the same people that you might find out later were trying to hide shit that they were doing that was illegal, money that they were giving to agencies that they shouldn't be. Them dipping into the purse themselves and taking that money. There might be all of those things found, and someone has to find it. Someone has to. I'm so tired of just looking at a massive deficit of our country spending trillions of dollars and us not being able to figure out why or where or how we can get that down. I know that's bullshit. We know there's so much waste. Someone has to go in and cut through it. And it's going to also require cutting through some red tape and bureaucracy to do it. And the bureaucrats are going to push back. The people are going to push back that don't want their dirty secrets and their dirty laundry aired out. It's just the way it is. DOGE is a legitimate agency created by a legitimate president to try to do a job. And I think that job has to be done. And whether or not they continue to go about it the way they're doing it, or they change course and go about doing it a different way that some people might see as a more ethical and right way to do it, either way, the job has to be done in my eyes. And for them to just stop would be, I think, a huge disservice to our country and to taxpayers. Because, like I said, I'm so tired, so tired of just the government looking at its money that it gets through taxes as just money that it can spend on whatever and waste constantly and give to other countries when we're not doing well. You know, it'd be different if we didn't have a homelessness problem, we didn't have a massive opiate crisis, we didn't have a generation of people so depressed and hopeless because they don't see a future in the United States. It would be different, but that's where we are. And for me to sit here and hear that, you know, that 19 states want to stop DOGE from doing what they're doing and, say that it's illegal. DOGE has already uncovered illegal spending in the government. I'm sure that they will continue to uncover a lot more, and there will be legitimate litigation probably brought against a lot of people due to that. And that is what's going to scare a lot of people, and that's going to be what stops a lot of people from trying to get this information out for as long as possible. Make it as hard as possible, and just hope that eventually they give up. And that's my honest opinion on this. And it's a wait and see kind of thing because this lawsuit's been filed, but it's not been seen by the Supreme Court. And we don't even know if it will go before the Supreme Court. It could just be a lawsuit and a temporary restraining order that gets thrown out Monday. It's all speculation right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting. It is. I think this is, kind of a pinnacle moment in our country's existence here. Just from my personal opinion, and I do look forward to seeing where it goes, where whether or not they can figure out a way to wiggle themselves out of this lawsuit, out of this um, you know, potential. I mean, this could completely shut down DOGE from a court order if they because they can't do anything after they're found guilty. So we'll have to see what happens.
How many states sued the federal government to try to, let's just take it back to when conservatives did the exact same thing. I think like 20 something states sued to try to get election records unsealed or whatever it was. Nothing happened from that. I see this is going to be a lot of similar things happening. It's just going to be a lot of smoke, a lot of mirrors, a lot of we get to say this in the press. He's so bad. DOGE is going to destroy democracy. I don't think DOGE is going to destroy democracy. We do still have a constitution,
So you don't
and
think
DOGE is not going to change the Constitution. The Constitution protects the right of the people, does not protect the right of departments of government agencies. And if DOGE is not interfering with the rights of the people, then it's not interfering with the Constitution in my eyes. So I don't see DOGE as a threat to the Constitution.
the Constitution dictates how Congress is run, how the branches of power are laid out, who has what
Maybe
powers and what
I might be thinking of the Bill of Rights then.
Well, here, okay. So let's think hypothetically here. All right, because Donald Trump only has 4 more years to be president. No matter what he does, by the time 4 years is up, he's going to be out and he can't run again. Okay, so let's say DOGE can do all of this, right? And they fight this. They keep appealing this forever, and DOGE just keeps on cutting agencies. Just continuing business as usual. Um, so let's say next time, we'll say just for hypothetical speaking, let's say John Stewart for some reason is elected from the Democratic Party next year, and he wants a DOGE, but it just strictly targets Republicans, Republican funds, Republican state funds, and they go into those departments and they start cutting spending that they need, would you be making the same argument there, or would you be like, hey, wait a second, they shouldn't have that power now that it's used against you?
Oh, uh, damn. This is a Washington Post. I have to create an account to read this article.
What is it
But I
saying,
will.
or what's the headline?
That judge just allowed Doge to gain access to records.
Really?
Yeah.
The same judge? Let me look it up.
I'm
Might have some breaking news here, folks. Hold on.
yeah, this is big. If that just happened, that's what I'm saying, man. I thought it'd be the end of the all
This
right,
might be a
here,
different judge.
let me send this to you real quick.
Yeah, send it to me. This might be a different
This is for the
judge.
Department of Labor, by the way.
Oh, the Department of Labor.
Yes. But this is still sensitive records at the Department of Labor.
Yeah, we need to read into that
Uh,
a little bit more, I think.
Despite voicing skepticism about granting the access, a judge denied unions requesting for a restraining order blocking the Musk-led group. So the restraining orders have officially been put down.
On the Department of Labor?
You just can do a free one. You don't to read it.
How do I do that?
View more offers, maybe. Oh no. It will let me just read the article
Hold
by.
on. There might be a free version of this somewhere. Hold on.
Don't you just love
Judge left
paywalls?
Doge accents. No, it's just for the. It's not. It's not. It's so it looks like some sort of union was trying to restrict their access to the Department of Labor, but this does not seem to be related to the Department of Treasury. We're going to try to figure that out right now. Judge, Department of Labor. See if we can. Judge lets Doge access sensitive records at Labor Department.
There's
This
one
was
on CBS.
Judge declines to block. This was 19
Huh.
hours ago.
I see that the Reuters.
Yeah, the Reuters. So this is older news, but a federal judge on Friday declined to block Elon Musk. Here, let me bring us over to this other scene. So it's not breaking news. This is kind of some older news here, but a federal judge on Friday declined to block Elon Musk's government cost-cutting department from accessing the U.S. Department of Labor system, an initial setback for the government employee unions resisting his efforts to shrink the federal bureaucracy. And that's just for the United States labor unions there. Which alleges billionaire Musk could obtain sensitive information about investigations into his own companies and competitors by accessing government computer systems. So,
Oh, so there might be multiple. It sounds like then there might be multiple lawsuits. So this is a separate lawsuit filed by unions that's been blocked. Now there is also a restraining order being filed by the 19 states. That one is a separate case. So
yes,
we are still going to have to wait and see about that. As far as I am aware, I don't see anything about the 19 states listed in this lawsuit.
right.
So yeah, there's still no update on that lawsuit, unfortunately. Darn, I saw that headline, man, and they do good. And that was posted 19 minutes ago, by the Washington Post.
Yeah, sometimes they, different places. Well, I mean, I really want to read that article. Hold on. I think there's a way to get past the pay block.
A federal judge has ruled that Musk-led U.S. DOGE service can access Labor Department data of millions of Americans, marking a setback for labor unions that sought to block the Department of Government Efficiency's work. Judge John D. Bates of the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia issued the order on Friday night, ending a temporary block on DOGE access to the Labor Department data. Although he expressed concerns about letting DOGE get to that information, Bates ruled that the AFL CIO and four other large labor unions that requested a restraining order failed to show that at least one particular member is substantially likely to suffer an injury with DOGE access. This data includes medical and financial records of millions of Americans, Bates wrote. On the current record, plaintiffs have failed to establish standing. The order is a blow to unions which have organized as the front line of defense aimed at protecting federal workers as DOGE seeks to trim 2 million from federal spend or 2 trillion, my bad, from federal spending. On Friday, unions had tried to expand their lawsuits to encompass other federal agencies that DOGE has targeted in recent days, including the Education Department, Department of Health and Human Services, and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. The unions have filed a lawsuit on Wednesday to prevent DOGE personnel from accessing highly sensitive data stored by the Labor Department, including medical information about federal workers and the identities of government whistleblowers, privileged information about the economy that can influence financial markets. In this lawsuit, unions allege that DOGE could gain access to confidential information about federal investigations into Tesla and Musk's other corporate interests, including his competitors, if they're able to access the Labor Department's systems.
Yeah, that's probably why the judge declined it, basically because they would need to provide proof that that is his justification there. But it doesn't seem like that information is as sensitive as social security numbers and people's bank details.
That's literally what they're talking about. They're going to have access to all of their highly sensitive data stored by the Department of Labor, including your social security number and all of your medical records.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
interesting.
look,
What kind was that a Democrat or Republican judge? Or is this going to be like a fight also? This is kind of it kind of throws like a new discussion into the
look him up.
ring here. What's his name?
Look him up. Judge John D. Bates.
Judge John D. Bates. Because this could be like a battle between the federal courts and he was appointed by President George W. Bush. So yeah. That's definitely a Republican. Wow.
I was gonna say,
so that's interesting. Okay, so like we're gonna have a little battle here between federal Republican federal judges and more Democratic federal judges on this matter. So yeah, I can guarantee you, I think at this point, now that we've learned about this is going to the Supreme Court.
Or it doesn't. I mean, you have precedent going both ways.
Yeah,
you have precedent saying give them access now, and you have precedent saying don't give them access. They need that access to do their job. They just got ruled to be given access by a federal district judge out of D.C. So does that, and that overrules the one from New York. So now it gets spicy. Things do heat up. I like that.
That is interesting because that ruling came after this. So the new, or not the ruling, but the new case from New York actually came after this ruling near Washington, D.C., the district court. But doesn't federal court override district court?
Yes, federal court is a higher authority than an.
Okay.
Well, wait.
So this was setting the federal precedent.
US District Court and the District of Columbia. No, that's just going to be where that court's located out of. I don't think the New York court.
District court, the same as
he overruled it.
Court. Find out shortly. See, these are the things and the questions that unfortunately we just don't have a whole lot of expertise in. But I think the purpose of this podcast is kind of for all of us to kind of learn together, right? Is learning together what these kind of things mean. So in context of the federal judiciary, the term district court typically refers to one of the trial courts in the federal court system. So you're right, it is a federal court. There are 94 federal district courts in the United States, and these courts are where federal cases, both civil and criminal, are first heard. However, the term district court is also used in many states to describe a trial level court in the state judicial system.
I don't think in this case that one applies.
See, saying I don't think this is. Let me let me just look up the
It's
exact
my way of
court.
nicely saying this doesn't apply.
Well, the fact that you used that, let me just make sure. Is this a federal or a state district? We got to make sure we got our ducks in a row here. We want to be as accurate as
Disrick.
possible. Yeah, don't. It'll understand it. The United States District Court of the District of Columbia is a federal court. Okay, yeah, so it is a federal
Yeah,
court.
it just said that.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah.
Well,
Good
it
job.
was saying district courts
It
can
literally
also be
copied that first exact entire line.
No, it is saying the district court
We're learning
can
twice as
also
much
mean
together because we're
exactly,
getting to learn the same thing, not
exactly,
once, but twice.
but twice.
And that's what I call learning more.
Yeah, we are learning more. Learning
Yeah,
with you
some
guys.
people take it twice, to learn
Hey,
it.
thank you, Devin.
I often don't learn things the fourth or even fifth time. Sometimes it takes me all the time. So
we do have people
twice
in
might
chat,
not even be
by the
enough.
way.
You want to go ahead and search that again?
What? Maybe we can check third time. Third time's a charm. But
I mean,
I
third
just
time
want to
could
say
be the
hello
charm.
to everybody that has chatted into the chat. We do appreciate you guys tuning in. This is a live stream, so technically, if you guys have any questions or concerns or maybe an opinion, feel free to put it into chat. We're not going to require you guys to do a super chat in order to get your opinions heard. But thank you, Holistic Patriots, for the kind greeting. Hello, Tornado Explorer, and hello, Devin. Welcome, welcome. But yeah, seems pretty clear that that is a federal court. So we have two federal courts kind of disagreeing with each other on this sensitive information.
Yeah,
Do we
and
have the
it
case
seems
number
like
from
one
that?
had the final say. So
get the
now
case
we'll
number.
know that we're gonna get DOGE is gonna get access to the Department of Labor. Now we'll see what'll happen with the Department of the Treasury. Will they get access to those documents? And what will come of that? I'm just genuinely curious to see what they find. How many millions or billions of dollars are being wasted of our money, and where is it going? Because that's what I want to know, and I want to cut that spending out. The last thing we need is to spend billions of dollars we don't have, or to continue to keep spending billions of dollars we don't have. We've just been continually saddling this debt further and further and pushing it further and further back till we deal with it. And I just don't think we're there anymore. I think we're at the point where we just have to deal with it, or it gets to a truly terrible situation where we're like Weimar Germany from post World War I, and people are burning dollar bills to stay warm.
I mean, that would be a crazy amount of corruption that would have to happen. That would be crazy.
Crazier things have happened, Evan. You think the Germans thought that after World War I that they'd be gathered around the pile of burning money to stay warm?
Probably not. They probably thought they were going to win. And
I mean, personally, I do think that's a pretty baller move to be burning $100 bills to stay warm, but it's less of a baller move if those $100 bills are viewed as like pennies.
Well, it's also not a baller move. That's like your only cash that you're burning to stay warm because you're just that cold. That's like,
my question is like, I mean, if cash is really that, I guess if you really can't buy anything with cash, yeah, you don't want to start tearing apart your house or anything. And if there's no trees nearby, before they started burning their money.
Your video feed cut out there for a little bit. Oh, you're back. Okay.
And we're back. That's the problem with having
your face got
Discord.
Stuck like for a second. Yeah, someone take a screenshot of that and
I always I swear anytime a screen ever glitches like that, it's never
a good face.
It's never a good facial expression that you get stuck on, is it? Right? It's always like the goofiest, like mid-word, like.
Honestly, it's almost like the brain takes an average of your facial expressions to make what it's seeing in real time. But then as soon as you get like a pause freeze frame, it never looks normal. You never look normal ever. Apparently. According to all the frozen freeze frames.
Freeze frame any point in this video. And I swear, dude, when we do our shorts, that's one thing I noticed too, is it always takes a freeze frame from our videos. And our expressions are always priceless.
Right.
I'm like, how is it that out of all of the freeze frames that it could just pick, that it never could just pick both of us just sitting there with our mouths closed.
Right. True.
Although, to be fair, it is a podcast and it is hard to get us both not talking.
Right. Wait, oh, I forgot something. There was a statement made by Elon Musk that I bookmarked on Twitter about, I think let me just double check. Let me go to my
His last
phone
statement was, "I love Donald Trump."
here.
I'm not
No,
joking. It was
he
his
did
last
he
tweet.
said something else. Hold on.
Like, he's like, "I love Donald at the real Donald Trump as much as a straight man can love another man." That was his exact tweet. So, I mean,
Well, that is he really likes him apparently. All right, so this is what he's saying. Let me go over to our split screen here where we have this. So this is a recent statement from Elon Musk about Doge team and the U.S. Treasury.
how long ago did he post this?
He posted this 3 hours ago.
Okay, so very recent.
Yeah, he says, to be clear, what the Doge team and the U.S. Treasury have jointly agreed makes sense in the following. Require all outgoing government payments have a payment categorization code, which is necessary in order to pass financial audits. This frequently left blank, making audits almost impossible. All payments must also include a rationale for the payment in the comment field, which is currently left blank. Important, we are not yet applying any judgment to this rationale, but simply requiring that some attempt be made to explain the payment. More than nothing, the do not pay list of entities known to be fraudulent or people who are dead or are probable fronts for terrorist organizations or do not match congressional appropriation must actually be implemented and not ignored, which is weird. That kind of disagrees with this statement up here. It's like we're just saying that we need a rationale, and then he's saying appropriations must actually be implemented and not be ignored. So it's like it's interesting. It's weird. But, overall, the above super obvious and necessary changes are being implemented by existing long-term career government employees, not anyone from DOGE. It is ridiculous that some of these changes didn't exist already. Yesterday, I was told that there were currently $100 billion a year of entitlement payments to individuals with no social security number or temporary ID. If accurate, this is extremely suspicious. When I asked anyone at the Treasury had a rough guess for what percentage of the number is equivocal and obvious fraud, the consensus in the room was about half, 50 billion to 1 billion a week, or 50 billion a year or 1 billion a week. This is utterly insane and must be addressed immediately. So that was his statement there.
Again, the problem with
Which, who knows?
relying on Twitter for news is
Right.
that Elon Musk will post this.
Exactly.
There is no sources,
It'd be nice
unfortunately.
if you were to
So
like
there's no links that we can click on to
Right.
verify what he is saying. You just have to
Exactly.
trust
That's
it.
exactly what
Elon
I was
Musk.
thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, trust Daddy Elon, as
Yeah.
they would say.
Jeez Louise. Well,
And look,
believe it or not, we've actually been live for over an hour, so we're almost near the end here.
my biggest thing and my takeaway from that is if that's really true that they
Doge
don't
flock.
currently
It's the Doge
categorize
flock.
the payments that they're sending out, that there's no categorization on the codes, and that they're not even bothering to fill out a reason most of the time for the payment, that they're just leaving it blank, which look, wow, they actually have a live tracker.
Yeah. This is another thing of just like, trust me, bro. Look at it. It says all values based on x.com/Doge data, not official data yet. uh,
Let's see the debt tracker. Go to the debt tracker.
debt tracker.
Oh, that's bad.
It's going up.
Okay. It always. Well, wait. Let's go. So go to interval.
I think we can see by this graph that it is going up.
Go to interval and go to weekly.
Interval. There's only monthly. We can do 5 years though. Make it smaller. Administration.
Golly.
Republican. Oh no. It was going up during Republicans.
What year
too.
is that?
And Democrat. Wait, that's not right. It's all blue.
That's not right, dude. Yeah, because
it says it's all Republican. This is in the last 5 years. So it looks like their website's already kind of bugging out.
Wow, Joe Biden. So, I mean, okay, look, the debt's gone up in the last 5 years, $10.8 trillion. Damn.
Yeah, it doesn't have the year, it just has like the month on here. Okay, March
No, it has the year.
2017.
Look,
Okay,
that's
yeah. So this was
it's the
Donald
month
Trump,
and the
and
year.
then this was Joe Biden, according to the years here.
Yeah, and COVID, you can really tell the COVID recovery arc.
Oh yeah,
Actually, if you look at
December on the 19th. I think it happened
the
before. Did it happen
the
in the 19th
deficit,
or in the 2018?
no, 2019 is when it started. You can literally see
That's
it
when it got
started in
bad.
2019 in
Yeah.
March, around March of 2019, and then you see the like in 2020 is when a lot of the people really started taking drastic actions, and you know, we had Operation Warp Speed and all that good stuff. Wow, though that debt is
Yeah, you
just.
can see it really went up there in between kind of the
Hey, look,
end of
that
Donald Trump's
last little bit. Hey,
presidency.
man, there's two dots that are exactly the same height. All I'm saying.
the same it's the same bar graph.
February of 25. Okay, it has not
It's
gone
still
anywhere
going
from
up.
January.
It's still going up. The same rate, it looks like.
Wait. Go back. Go back. What was it in? Go to January and then go to February. It has the actual like number. So January was 33.65 and February was 33.83. Now, what was the previous one in December? Okay, so it's going up about the.
It's going up faster.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Just by a little bit. It's okay, guys. No one freak out. They're cutting spending.
Look,
Getting
one
less
thing
debt,
that I do want to
apparently,
get into before
allegedly.
we end up closing out this podcast, because this happened last night and it might not be breaking news anymore, but I think it is important. If you don't mind pulling up the joint press conference that Trump had last night with the Prime Minister of Japan, there was a
You know how
lot of
long that
really,
was?
really good stuff that went in through that,
Should we try to look up
including Japan
clips?
vowing to invest $1 trillion into the United States economy. Whether that's car manufacturers, Trump was able to broker a deal where Nimco Steel in Japan, instead of just buying US Steel, is going to invest, so they'll become partners with US Steel, which means that US Steel will retain its US ownership, and that will be mutually beneficial for both Japan and the United States. US Steel gets the benefit of getting Nimco's steel production technology as well as their manufacturing techniques, which could be superior to ours, and we get the benefit of getting a massive influx of money and jobs. So, you know, it's
No way
it's
ChatGPT can do this, right?
I honestly am curious now. I feel like we've
Because
already
I feel like
incorporated AI so much into the
this was
podcast
a
that we might as
video.
well see it.
This is a video, right? So it would have to wouldn't it have to watch the video? I guess there could be some summaries. It'll be interesting
AI,
what
well,
the
I mean, you got to think
sources
AI
will be.
already knows how to do a pretty good interpretation of voice recognition. There it goes.
It's got the right date, bro. It's so crazy that AI can search the web
There
now.
you go.
This is such a useful tool when trying to figure out stuff.
So strengthening the U.S.-Japan alliance and the Indo-Pacific security. I know that Japan had vowed to double their military spending as well, which is another big thing.
Defense and treaty assurance, force realignment, economic and trade cooperation. Recognizes Japan as one of the largest foreign direct investors in the United States for the past 5 years. Ishiba expressed Japan's intention to boost its United States investments with talks, including a target. Ooh, that's interesting. Of raising bilateral investment to as high as $1 trillion. Which, the crazy thing about that? Um, Japan
Japan's already our largest
yearly
investor.
GDP is I think it's 4 billion. Yeah. No, that's not right.
That's trillion, dude.
I mean trillion, yeah. It's 4 trillion, but I forgot yeah. 4,000.41 billion, which is 4 trillion. So that's 1/4 of their GDP. And one of the
That is
questions that
also
I had,
old.
one of the
That's
questions that I
2023's
had,
data.
well, yeah, but we'll get new data. It usually doesn't go up or
Let me
lower
see
too
while
much
you're
in
doing that. I'm
2025.
gonna go on my tablet here and see if I can pull up Japan's GDP data from 2024, get a more accurate.
Okay. But yeah, I mean that's a lot to spend. So I don't think they're going to be spending that all at once, but definitely maybe over a long period of time. And isn't most of this investment going mainly because it says bilateral investment?
All right, so
So isn't that mainly
Google's AI
military?
answer for Japan's GDP of last year was
Oh.
6.272 trillion. So six
Okay, so
trillion
one
two hundred
sixth.
272 billion.
Yeah, 1/6 of that. The leaders discussed enhancing energy cooperation, including increasing U.S. exports of liquefied natural gas to Japan and mutually beneficial framework. So you actually watched the whole announcement, right?
Yeah,
How
so
does
what they
this?
were
Okay,
talking
so
about
no.
there
How
is
does
that
this?
the
How does
natural
this align what the ChatGPT is reporting here to what actually happened so far that we've read? Is it spot on?
I mean, you know, the one thing
That's
that it's
crazy.
not mentioning is that all the US reporters spent more time asking Trump about Elon and Doge than they actually spent about him and his foreign relationship with the Japanese prime minister, which is not a good look for foreign or for any prime minister when he goes in to have a press conference with another world leader and they're asking that world leader about something completely unrelated to the fact that he's sitting there talking to the third most powerful prime minister or third most powerful world leader, right? If you look at Japan in terms of just straight up
Oh,
projection of power,
look at this.
Japan's the second most advanced and the third largest economy in the world. So that man is one of the most powerful men in the world. And you have US reporters sitting there asking about Elon Musk and Doge. Like, look, I get it for us in America. We just spent the last hour talking about Elon Musk and Doge. But we also aren't sitting in front of the Japanese prime minister with the chance to ask him valid questions about how trade is going to interact between the two countries or how we're going to do reciprocal tariffs and how that's going to end up working. That is one of the things. So Trump did mention that liquefied natural gas is going to be the main way that the United States makes up its trade
7.6
deficit with Japan because Japan desperately needs
earthquake in the
a cheaper,
Caribbean.
more reliable source of liquid natural gas. The Japanese prime minister was very, very big on stressing that the main thing that attracts him to the US liquid natural gas is that it's at a very fair price and a
Whoa.
consistent supply. He said that like 5 times during his speech last night. He said, as long as that it's at a continue to buy as much natural gas as I can. And that Donald Trump also vowed basically to put Japan towards the front of the line, saying that we'll put you ahead of countries like China in terms of being able to acquire our natural gas, which he did also mention that China is wanting to be one of our larger buyers of natural gas as well.
Sorry, I just got completely distracted here. We have breaking news.
Sea turtles.
Hold on. USGS earthquake
Oh, there's an earthquake.
in the Caribbean. 7.6, which is huge.
That is actually. Is there any
Yeah,
tidal
look at this.
waves?
Could be. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Yeah, so southwest of
Oh,
Georgetown in the middle. I mean, if this creates a tsunami, that would wreck Cuba, Jamaica, Honduras. So I'm trying to find out more information. 10 kilometers below the surface, which is pretty far.
Evan, is your inner weatherman coming out?
Well, this has nothing to do with weather, but I do have a little bit of knowledge on earthquakes. I'm just wondering what the tsunami threat is on this, because if this creates a tsunami, like a big one, that would be extremely bad. I don't know. You wanna do live coverage on this? You got energy to do that?
We can try. I don't see much that's worth covering right now about it. I mean, there's not any
There's not
reported
going to be.
tsunamis.
Yeah. So that would be. Let's see how long ago it happened. 7:33.
See, Evan, this is the problem with you having all those alerts with your weatherman stuff. You're gonna get this, and you're gonna be so excited by this earthquake
Well,
because
if
you're like, "Oh, it's
if
a
there's a
weather event.
tsunami, no, but
I
we're
got to
also.
report
This
on
is
the
not,
weather event."
bro. This is not weather. What are you talking about?
Well, it's a natural disaster. I mean, weather is.
No, weather is the atmosphere, my brother. This is geography. I don't even know what this is. I guess it's geography.
That would be an earthquake, a natural disaster.
Yeah. I mean, if this creates a tsunami, I'm definitely going to do live coverage on this on our channel here. But we should probably end the podcast though. And we'll continue to monitor this, but we have breaking news here. 7.6 earthquake has happened here in the Caribbean Sea. It looks like a tsunami advisory has been issued. Let
Oh,
me
so there is actually a
let me
tsunami
see.
advisory.
Tsunami advisory. See if we can get more information on that. An issue for the entire Caribbean. Oh, here we go. An earthquake with a preliminary magnitude of 7.5 occurred at Honduras. Based on all available data, there is a tsunami threat to Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands of sea level fluctuations and strong ocean currents that could be a hazard. Earliest estimated time that hazardous sea level fluctuations and strong ocean currents may begin in Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands is 9:48 p.m. AST on Saturday, February 8th, 2025. Actions to protect human life, safety, and property should be taken immediately. The generation of tsunami waves has not yet been confirmed. Monitoring is underway to further evaluate the tsunami threat.
Oh, wow.
Do we have any buoys in the Caribbean?
So, Evan, you being a weather expert, I'm sure
You
this
are
is
lost in the
definitely the
sauce.
question for you. About what magnitude earthquake do you start running into the risk of getting a tsunami,
I mean, you can get a tsunami from
Mr.
like a
Weatherman?
6.0, 5.0. When you get a tsunami from a 7.6 earthquake, I mean, that could be a tsunami big enough depending on how shallow it is and, what it caused it. If it's a displacement of a tectonic plate and it lifts up really quick like that, you can get quite large tsunamis from it. If it's an earthquake caused by something below the surface, you don't usually get some tsunamis from that. So let me see if there's any buoys in the Caribbean. National Buoy Center. Well, there's actually some buoys nearby.
That's like right by it.
Can we actually get view details? Maybe a
I wish there
graph.
was one like right off the coast of Cuba. That would be ideal.
3 meters above site elevation. Water depth. Site elevation. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Here we go. Wave height 4.9 feet. Has it risen recently? No, not really. So it's still kind of sitting around its regular size or its regular or what it's been measuring for a while. So yeah, so this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna end the podcast here. I do appreciate everybody tuning in, and if we get any tsunami alerts, any new ones or warnings, we'll come back live and cover it for sure. But
Either we'll go live on this channel or Evan go live on his other channel.
I'll go live on this channel. This is our news reporting channel.
All right, then. So we'll let you know with any breaking news. If we see any tsunamis touching down, we will absolutely be on back here covering it. And yeah.
And yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in. You guys have a wonderful rest of your evening. And if you haven't yet, hit that like button and consider subscribing. If
And
you
share
haven't,
the podcast.
yeah, and share the podcast if you want to. Oh wow, we have 8 people watching.
All right. Thank you guys so much for
Hold on,
tuning in.
viewership is going up.
All right.
All right, we're ending it. We'll be back on though, so stay tuned for new updates.
New podcast coming every Saturday, and then we're going to start working on releasing more
Oh my gosh.
not like breaking news, but they're going to be more of a long form video, and we're going to start releasing those throughout the week, as well as just our
Let's say the
usual
Cayman
shorts from our
Islands.
podcast.
Absolutely. We'll see you guys then. Peace.
All right. Bye.